Hello everybody. I'm happy to welcome you all to this video lecture on Preference Ranking Organization Method for Enrichment of Evaluations called as PROMETHEE. So this is the presentation outline. So we'll have an introduction to PROMETHEE, what are the steps involved, the problem description, and the hands-on session. So this PROMETHEE method was developed by J.P. Brands, and this method was very firstly presented at a conference in the year 1982. So actually, in this video lecture, we are going to see about PROMETHEE 2, which is a complete ranking method. We have several extensions starting from PROMETHEE 1 to PROMETHEE 6. But the methods like PROMETHEE 3 to PROMETHEE 6, they are actually having a fundamental basics of the PROMETHEE 2 with a little variations in the assumptions and the methodology. But PROMETHEE 2 gives us a complete ranking, and that's why in this video lecture, we are going to have a primary focus on the PROMETHEE 2. So what are the steps involved? So here, the very first step, we are going to find the criteria and the possible alternatives in a decision problem. And then we are going to find the weight of the criteria, that is for each criteria, with the condition that the sum of all the weights of criteria must be equal to 1. And now here comes the normalization of the decision matrix. So here also we are going to classify the criteria as benefit criteria and cost criteria, and we are going to normalize the decision matrix by using both the formula or either of the two depending on the criteria what we are dealing with. Sometimes we all deal with the benefit criteria, and sometimes we may deal with the cost criteria, and many times a combination of both. So whenever we are dealing with the benefit criteria, we are going to use the very first formula, and cost criteria is a second formula. And here comes the determination of deviation by pairwise comparison. So in this method, we are going to deal with the preference of one alternative over the another. So how each alternative is going to differ from each other based on each criteria. So that is we are going to find in the step 4. And here, since we are dealing with a preference given to each alternatives, we are going to define a preference function. And in this example, what we are going to just deal in the forthcoming hands-on session, we will be dealing with a quite common preference function. And then followed in the step 6, we'll be finding the multi-criteria preference index. So which alternative should be preferred to the another alternative. So you will be finding the positive and negative outranking flows followed by your step 6. So here I like to mention a description about the word outranking. So whenever we are dealing about the word outranking, it deals how one is given preference over the another. So whenever I'm going to say about the positive outranking flow of any alternative, it shows about its strength. It shows about its preference to other alternatives. The negative outranking flow, it just indicates the weakness of it. It shows the non-preference of the alternative with respect to the other alternatives. And then you are going to calculate the net flow values, and you're going to rank your alternatives accordingly. So these are the steps involved in PROMETHEE 2. So now we'll go to the problem description. And now here comes, there are 4 methods are there and 6 criteria are there. And these are the criterion weights. And if you're going to sum up all these criterion weights, it will be equal to 1. And now this 1350, 1850, the values in the first row are the indicators of the method 1, how it is satisfying the criteria C1 to C6. So these are the indicator values are here. Now with these input, now we'll see how to rank these methods. So as we discussed earlier, we have just formulated this PROMETHEE method. So once again, I will be reworking the same method for you. Now this is actually the given input. Now here we are going to deal all the criteria to be the benefit criteria, and it is not the cost criteria we are going to involve in it. Now what is the very first step when you are going to normalize it? So you are going to find the maximum value and minimum value, and you are going to find the difference in the numerator. So each value minus the minimum divided by the maximum minus minimum value. So you are going to find the maximum value of it. And next you are going to find the minimum value. Next you are going to find the difference between your maximum and minimum. So this again will be equal to your maximum of this particular. And then you can just drag it over here, and also you can have a check whether this works or not. Then this will be equal to your minimum of the same, and you can simply drag it to find the minimum values of each column, and here you can find the maximum minus minimum difference. So this again will be equal to minus, so this will be your difference. So you can directly give this will be equal to the maximum of this minus minimum of this one. For example, I can just give this the maximum of minus the minimum so I can give like this. This will be equal to the maximum minus minimum of the same thing. Then I can just drag it to this. Even directly you can do it, but still since we are doing step by step, it will be easy for you if I go by the computation of maximum, minimum, and then maximum minus minimum. So this is the difference you are going to find. Okay, so this is the very first step, and now you are going to normalize it. So how will you do it? So you can just take it here as usual, and now you can find this also here, and this will be equal to your each value, because xij minus, so you will be going with your benefit, so minimum value. So what is your minimum value here? So you will be finding your minimum here. So this is going to be a constant value. So you can directly do it, but still I'm just doing it step by step for you to understand. So I think you can just divide by this particular difference. So this is going to be the constant once again. So you can divide it. So you can just drag it. And what comes here? So this again will be equal to your C2. So minus your minimum value. And then you're just going to divide by the difference over here. So I can just put the dollar sign so that I can make it things easier. So I can simply drag it. So what happens here? Okay, so it's enough if I just go with my D. So you are just going to replace this with your E. Just give an enter sign here. Then similarly, you are just going to go with your F. Give an enter. Then you are going to go with your G. You can simply drag it. So definitely you will be finding your 0 as well as your 1 in all your entries. So we can have a check whether we are getting the same values or not. Okay, so we are getting the same values. So we have find the normalized decision matrix. Now we are not going to compute the weighted normalized, but we are going to find the pairwise comparison, the deviation between it. So what is that? So now you will be finding this one. So what is this? Okay. So now this is again nothing but this will be equal to your M1, that is your alternative M1 with respect to your alternative M2. Just click it and you just simply drag. So what this is showing? It shows the preference of 1 to 2. So your first row minus your second row, that is your M1 values minus the M2 values. And here this will be equal to your M1 minus corresponding to M3. So now you can simply drag this. Then this will be again equal to your M1 minus your M4, because it shows your preference of 1 with respect to the alternative 4. Now this gives you the preference of your M2 with respect to your M1. So you will be getting this, and this will be again equal to your M2 minus your M3, and you can just simply drag it. Then again this will be equal to your M2 minus your M4. So you can just simply drag this one, and now here comes your M3 and minus your M1. So this is again your M3 minus your M2. So M3, so this again will be equal to your M3 minus your M4. So whatever order we are writing, in that way we are just separating the corresponding rows. So now it is M4 minus this M1, and again this will be equal to your M4 minus your M2. Again this will be equal to your M4 minus your M3. Okay. So now we can just drag this so that we will be getting the corresponding values. Okay. Now we'll just have a check whether our values are okay, correct or not. Yes, it is right. And now we are going to define the preference function. So I like you all to just listen at this particular instant a bit carefully. Now what are you going to do is you are going to give a preference function. Now in these values, whichever values are negative, you are going to replace by 0, and whichever values are positive, you are going to multiply by the corresponding criterion weight. And now these things will be the same, because I have just defined the pairwise comparison with respect to the each alternative. So D12 means the pairwise comparison of the alternative M1 with respect to M2 subjecting to these criteria. So I am just giving the values here. And now I'm just going to apply a condition, and we can call it as a preference function. See, I'm just going to club two steps together. That is the preference function and multi-criteria preference index. So I like to just give a note of it. Now we have find the pairwise comparison. We are going to define the preference function. So what is the preference function is, I'm going to replace the negative values by 0 and retain the positive values. So that is the preference function. And next I'm going to multiply those values by the corresponding weight. Now the step 5 and step 6 I wish to combine together.